Hello, TA! So today I will be presenting my sweet infographic about microservice architectures, building scalable and resilient systems. So, what is the problem? Well, this infographic addresses microservice architecture from Chapter 6 of the Somerville textbook, a modern approach addressing the limitations of traditional monolithic systems. So, in today's fast paced software industry, architectures must support scalability, rapid deployment, and continuous delivery, but are often hindered by the rigidity of monoliths. This infographic will cover the principles of microservices and the benefits like scalability and flexibility, and challenges such as complexity and the real world applications. But I do exclude the technical implementation and in depth discussion of orchestral tools. The scope is to explore how microservices enhance system scalability and maintainability, and providing insights into their benefits and challenges to guide organizational strategies. So, as you can see, I have this graphic right there, So on the left side, let me go over and zoom in real quick. Sorry about that. So if I zoom in right here, you can see my graphic. So the graphic right there, sorry about that. The graphic is shows on the left side a monolithic architecture where everything is all dependent on one, like everything is lumped together. But microservices splits all the different components into different pieces to make it more efficient. And as you can see, I'll explain them more in the literary search. So, in the literature search, I drew from three peer-reviewed literature services on microservice architecture. One, Microservices, a systematic mapping study, and that one highlighted the modularity and independent deployment as key advantages, while also discussed challenges like service management complexity. And then I also looked at Towards a Technology Stack for microservices, which explored essential tools like containerization and API gateways for managing microservices systems effectively, which is using things like Kubernetes and Docker. Lastly, I also looked at migrating from monolithic architecture to microservices, and that provides a real world case study which discussed practical challenges such as data consistency and organizational change during migration. So now let's look at the critical analysis. So, while analyzing these three peer-reviewed articles, and I had a fourth one, I just considered the Medium article, which I pulled the graphic from as one of the other sources. But yeah, so there are a lot of strengths and weaknesses. So for strengths, there's scalability, like services can be scaled independently based on demand. Flexibility, like teams can develop and deploy services autonomously. Maintainability, which is like smaller code bases, make debugging and updates more manageable. And then there's the weaknesses, like increased complexity, which managing like numerous services requires a lot of sophisticated orchestration though. Operational overhead is a lot because you're using a lot of different services and resources, which like is a big strain. And the culture shift from switching just from one thing to a huge amount and connecting them with a ton of DevOps and CI/CD, because microservices really like focus on the integration of a ton of different services, which is why they're called microservices, to make one huge thing running. And you got to use things like Docker and Kubernetes, and people may not be used to that. But there are a lot of emerging trends, including like serverless computing, or like function as a service as a system, and event-driven architectures that really enhance decoupling and scalability through asynchronous communication. And while microservices introduce complexity, their substantial benefits in scalability and flexibility make them a powerful choice for organizations preparing to adopt strong DevOps. So, after like reflecting on all of this, I really realized that like microservices are truly the future and moving away from monolithic. But adopting microservices isn't without a challenge. It takes a lot of planning and careful consideration to really migrate your system over. Because like in the case study that I looked into, there was a lot of challenges there with like migrating everyone over, and it takes a lot of investment and tooling and a big culture shift, like I was talking about earlier. And for organizations to invest in this, there's going to be a lot of challenges, and there will be a lot of market stuff. So a lot of what I found interesting was that I do a lot of personal projects, and I used to do heavy monolithic stuff where everything was just based all together. But what this taught me was there's a lot of benefits to splitting it up and really containerizing and modularizing everything. Uh, and like I'm working on this like startup, and what I learned from this really will affect how I approach that. Where like when we're gonna migrate stuff over from a monolithic to more of a microservice one, we're gonna do it incrementally and not all at once, because like all at once was what the case study did, and it went terrible. So yeah, that's all I have for my presentation. Thank you so much. My references in the bottom right corner, and please rate easy. Thank you.